Happy New Year's. We're back with the 1946 Dodge truck again. And what you're looking at is the side view of the truck at the rear wheel. And I took a piece of paneling and I chopped it to make a template for what the frame section is going to be like. And you can see there's a 2x4 on top of the wheel. And that's about how much travel the wheel will have. So the frame section should be within the wheel tub once I have the wider wheels on. So it should all work out real well. So what I did when I cut out this this template was I started with a piece of cardboard, and this is the only thing I tried to hold level. And then you can see that the back part of the frame is going to be tipped down some because the bed is on an angle towards the front. Okay, so last video I talked about how I put air in the tires and weight and all that, and I leveled out the back of the frame and got the whole frame level. So I checked it once again before I started working on this rear end, and then I put blocks under the front and I just put shims in until I got it so that if the air came out of the tires, the frame isn't going to go anywhere. So now it's totally level to the ground with a 4-foot level in all directions. And then what I did was, since I had the bed on, I found out where the axle was going to be, because the rocker panel or the running boards are connected to the fenders, and that kind of dictates where the rear end is going to be. And I started to take measurements off of the frame and found the frame's pretty straight and square. And I put a bar in here, and that gives me a measurement point that works out really well because it's really perpendicular to the frame. And so what I did then was I got a measurement to my axle. I made sure that my axle was kicked on a 3-degree angle up in the front, so that way it it matches up to the transmission, which is pointed down 3 degrees. So I got the right pinion angle. I made sure that the rear end was centered under the vehicle, and then I notched out one of the flanges that the ladder bars connect to, that connects onto the housing, because one of them is actually on the housing and the other 3 are on the tube on the axle. And then I connected everything in the front on the cross member, got the cross member cut to the right dimension, made sure that the measurements to the holes on each side of the ladder bar in the front there are the same distance over to the axle, so I can move them up one hole or move them down one hole, and it's not going to move the axle in or out. And I made sure that the bottom tube was level to the ground and they're level to each other, and I made sure that the back 2 heim joints are perpendicular to the bottom tube. And all that stuff is talked about on the Centerline Engineering website for their directions. And once I got that all in there, then I tacked it and I double checked everything, and then I fully welded it. So I'm going to have to come back now and make box in that cross member tube on both sides so that the frame is fully boxed in. And I'm going to put another U shape on top of this cross member going up in the air, and then I'm going to cut this one off and flange it on there so that it basically makes a drive shaft tube. And I'll only use that if I go to the racetrack, which is going to be real rarely on this vehicle. Now you can see I made the frame sections already, and I got a 4-foot level sitting on top of them and some little chunks of tube that kind of make up so I don't hit the welds. And you can see I'm within about a 1/16 of an inch on this one, and I'm about an 1/8 of an inch on the one underneath. And as far as from one to another, I'm pretty good on that, and they match the template real well. Okay, so on this end I left extra material, and that way I can cut it off later on whenever I figure out exactly what I'm doing. That's just sticking out of the back end of the bed. And the reason I did that was because by the time you plasma cut this tubing, which is all I got is a plasma cutter, and then you grind it off because you got to get rid of the plasma edge to weld it, everything shrinks and it doesn't exactly match the template, which I don't really care about this point. I do care about this end over here. This is where the bed mounts. I care about this section here. This is where the spring is going to be. It's going to be a 6.5 inch tall airbag. And then I care about this area right here, which is where it connects to the frame. And I got about an inch extra there, which I don't think it's even going to matter. I might chop a little off the bottom. I'm not going to use this part. I don't really need to add a tube for that. And then I'm going to box this end in and box it into the frame. I was thinking about using an 1/8 inch plate, and now that I'm done with the tubing, I think I would have been better off with 1/8 inch plate, because the tubing is not really square. It's bellied in the middle. it's really hard to get this stuff to be straight, especially if you don't have a welding bench. And I think I would have been better off making a template and just cutting it out of my 1/8" plate and not even buying this tubing. And plus I could have got nice rounded corners in here and around the edge, and it would have been a stronger section. But it's 5 by 2 by 1/8 tubing, so it's pretty strong. And I'm just going to make some pieces to go right here on all these corners, 2 by 2 by 1/8, and give myself a little more weld, and it'll be really beefed up so that way I can haul a car trailer. And you can see it matches this template pretty well, and from one to another they're really good. I put a square on them and they match up pretty good. So that's it for today.